Gen Z is lost in sin. They absolutely are. When you look at the way that these people live, the type of lifestyles that they are living, they are lost deep in sin. Someone made an interesting comment on one of the videos that I made discussing how a lot of Americans will be soon headed to the FEMA camps because they will no longer have places to live. The US dollar is losing its reserve status and everything is going downhill. And while there are many who refuse to accept this, there's one thing you have to understand: Gen Z is lost in sin. These are a group of people that are godless. Don't forget. And this little Gen Zer, he had some nerve saying this to me because I said that Gen Z doesn't believe in God, and I will never stop. I will never ever stop saying this, telling this story. This little jerk had the gall to reach out to me and let me know it's not that Gen Z doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe that God exists. Oh, Gen Z believes that God exists. Gen Z just does not care that God exists. Keyword care. Gen Z is a godless generation. Very, very bad muffins. And by the way, guys, if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get new videos early. If you'd like to learn more about this, click the join button down below this video. Yeah, I mean, there is no good reality for Gen Z right now. There's no good reality for these bad muffins. No good reality for them. They're dropping out of society. They don't want to work. The world is too hard. Everything is too hard. So, things should be handed to them. I've said this before that when everything really goes downhill, these jerks are going to be out there stealing left and right. They're furious about the economy, cussing up a storm. I mean, it's like, Gen Z, get a life.
Cannot stand how the news has been dogging Gen Z and calling them lazy for not wanting to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of their lives. Let me put it in perspective for everybody who's a little confused here, okay? I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week, okay? I do not make enough to live on my own. I would not make enough to pay rent, water, electric, and eat. All by myself. I would not be capable of doing that. 20 years ago when you were getting started, you could live on your own. 20 years ago when you first started, you were able to do everything that I am now struggling to do. Let me add another perspective here. You've been working for 20 years. You have 20 years of working experience behind your belt. You have 20 years of experience in a career that has allowed you to gain raises, to get more money, to profit you in an economy that you created. You can sit here and you can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but I've been working my tail end off just to barely make it by. And respectfully, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to work my tail end off, wasting all of my life working just to barely be able to pay my bills. And that is what you created, not Gen Z. We're just here getting started. You've been doing it for the last 20 years. You tell me how it got ruined. We can sit here and we can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but you let the economy turn into what it did. You let it all run to hell. And now it's Gen Z's fault because we don't want to work to fix your mistake.
Now, first off, I just want to say, ma'am, you work at Walmart, and judging from all that makeup, you belong to the streets. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, it's very interesting when you look at the perspective of Gen Z, blaming prior generations. This is the total BS that they are on. So basically, anyone who is older than Gen Z is a boomer because she's going after people that started off 20 years ago. So basically, that would be me and Gen X. So little girl, don't come at us with that type of energy. All right, don't come at Gen X. Don't come at the X with that kind of energy. You really need to watch. You really need to watch the things that you're saying. Okay, really need to be a bit more respectful and miss us with that type of energy. Okay, because we're not the one. We're not the one, sweetie. Don't come at us with that kind of energy. You don't know us like that. Okay, so you take it down a notch. You're gonna speak to us with respect. Okay, okay, little girl, speak to us with respect. I don't know how you do it in the streets, but don't come over here. Don't try. You think you're gonna do it over here with us? All right? Okay, save that for the streets. Save that for the streets. Miss us with that. So yeah, There's a whole bunch of nonsense that Gen Zers are spouting. They're all spouting this nonsense. 20 years old, 20 years old, working at Walmart, thinks that she should be able to, live on her own. Like, who the hell was living on their own at 20 years old 20 years ago? Literally no one. With the exception of people who had to live on their own, literally no one. Either you were in college or you were in college, you were with your parents, you were still in high school because you were a super senior, but you were finally about to get it together. Y'all, I remember being in high school. I remember being in high school with some Gen Xers, and you find out that there's some of them that are super seniors, and you find out they're finally going to graduate, and you're like, wait a minute, wait, how old are you? How long have you been here this long? Wait a minute, you should have graduated back in 19 what? 1990 what? Like, I'm telling you, it's like you find out, so you really find, like, bro, it's like, bro, we coming into the 2000s now. What are you talking about? What are you still doing here? Now I'm finally getting it together. It's gonna happen this year. It's gonna happen this year. I'm graduating finally. But I'm just telling y'all, no one at 20 years old was living on their own unless they had to live on their own. Parents put them out, or they came from one of those messed up families. But most people were not living on their own. You had a few exceptions, of course, and there's a few idiots that'll say, "Well, I lived on my own." That idiot is the exception. That idiot is the exception because most people were not capable of living on their own at 20 years old, let alone buying a house. Like, everyone had roommates back then, and people used to like, this is crazy. This is how it used to be, like, years ago. Like, everyone was like sharing food. Everyone was like sharing food and sharing drinks. Like, Gen Z doesn't know this stuff. Like, we were poor back then. We were, even when we were not poor, like, we'd go out and we'd all be drinking from the same cup and eating from the same plates. Like, I don't know what Gen Z is on. Gen Z is like insane. These people, they're lunatics. These are lunatics, bro. Who the hell raised these people? Who raised these lunatics? I I don't know. I don't know. Like, and these people, it's like, you're not supposed to say this, but Gen Z is like, they seem to think that everyone had it better than them, and they have all of this energy, and they're coming after white males, like, oh, you all had it better. And it's like, bro, everybody was poor back in the day. Nobody had it like that. Gen X had to pull themselves up from by their bootstraps, bro. What are you talking about? If you had money, you saved. You saved and you worked hard, and you were things cheaper than they are now? Yes. Hell yes. All right. Making $12 an hour in back in the early 2000s. Oh my gosh, that's like, that's like 30, $40 today at least. 30, $40 today at least. I'm not gonna lie. Like, making $12 back in the early 2000s, that's like 30, $40 today. Like, I could do crazy things with that money. What you could do with that money back then compared to today is insane. Like, I mean, with that money, I could eat well. I could buy whatever I wanted. Like, if I had just stayed away from college, I could have been living La Vida Loca. I'm not gonna lie. Like, life was so much better back then in that respect. But no one could have a house. No one could have, like, again, if you lived in one of those like crap states like Kansas, then maybe it was a possibility. But even then, you still needed money. You still had to put money down. And yes, there was the whole subprime mortgage thing, and it was easier to get some loans. The boomers had it pretty good. But you have to remember, like, you're basically, like, you're coming after Gen X and the old millennials with this type of energy, and it's like everyone had it great while you guys are like you're suffering. And it's like, bro, no one had we're living the lives that you're talking about. Even in the 90s, like, you're acting like people were buying houses for like like expensive houses for like $20,000 in 1993. And I mean, maybe in like in the stick in the woods, like in some like crap area. It was Listen, like, these people are going back to like the 1940s and 1950s. with Lassie and Leave It to Beaver. Like what the hell is wrong with these people? Like we're talking about black and white era. These people are going back to like the black and white TV era, Jim Crow era. Like they're going back hard. They're going back real far. Like remember the good old days when different groups of people had different water fountains? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Like, bro, what is wrong with Gen Z? All right. Like they're going back to those liberation days, like like entering slavery days. Like yeah, remember when we could afford this? Like, bro, we talk, bro. What are you going back to those years for? What are you going back to those years for? What do you know about those years? None of us were born back then, bro. Who told you about this? All right, bro. That happened in 1875. What are you on? What are you on? Like, what videos are you watching on YouTube? Because we know you don't read books. Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z. My gosh, I don't like Gen Z. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this content, maybe consider checking out my Men Walking Away channel. I release daily videos on that channel. There's a link to it in the description of the video, so go and check it out. Subscribe to the channel, enjoy the content. Gen Z is lost in sin. What do you guys think regarding this? Let me know. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, Men Walking Away. And cheers.